Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to A Better World with Adrienne. I'm so excited that you're here and so grateful to be opening up this ceremony, this channel, this transmission with you, for the whole damn world. I've never felt more on fire for this work. And this episode is special because I'm bringing on a guest. So I am co-creating, facilitating a conversation with Ayesha Durrani. She has been so many different things in my life. You may know her, you may not know her, and either way, I'm excited for you to receive our conversation. So, I studied astrology with Aisha back in 2020. Then I've just been in her orbit. I was in her mastermind. And these days, it's a new earth leader colleague situation. And it just is so expansive to be in conversations and rooms with other people who are leading new earth. And I wanted to bring her on specifically to speak about the Age of Aquarius. We go through so much in this episode. We go through masculine and feminine energetics, each of our experiences with sitting with ayahuasca. We talk about neurodivergence and what that means in terms of thought leadership. It's we go all over the place. And whether you have questions about astrology, whether you have, you come to this podcast to heal, to learn, to grow. It's designed that every single week you can have a breakthrough. And so, what I really call you into, and I call you into this every single week, I call myself into this every single week, is information without implementation truly means nothing. So, if you receive a golden nugget from this podcast, I dare you, triple dog dare you, to implement it, to integrate it, to install it into your life and see what happens as a direct result. Okay. To officially introduce Aisha, she is an astrologer. She is a seven-figure global business owner and founder of Oath Oracle, led by spirit, strategy, and the stars. She helps her clients unlock their birth chart and live their blueprint. So, her and I have that in common. We're both astrologers. We're both astrologers seeped in the ancient codes of New Earth and here on assignment for New Earth. So, I'm really excited to be sharing this conversation. And before I hand it over to our co-creation together, a couple announcements. First, if you are interested in the Holy Habits Hive Mind, this is my 6-month mastermind, but better. We have the bee as our spirit guide, but we are doubling down on health, wellness, daily ritual, daily routine, you mastering your holy habits to accelerate and collapse time in your soul mission in divine timing. We have the South Node in Virgo. We have a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. It's a total reset in your health. And what I've realized is that all of my successful clients, we go deep into their holy habits and make their like unreasonable, illogical success automatic using my trifecta of transformation, using holy habits, and really leveraging their body as a portal. And I've also realized over the years that most people would rather talk about sex, most people would rather talk about money than their health, than the food they put in their body, than the intimate moments between them and themselves and them and creator, where they either choose to love, respect, and cherish themselves, or they choose to break that trust, break that respect. So if you're interested in becoming the healthiest, hottest, wealthiest version of yourself, in the Holy Habits Hive Mind, we start October 1st. Link is in the show notes to apply. There's 5 spots. It's highly intimate because the work is intimate. And I just added some new live experiences with me the rest of 2025. I'm going to be in LA and leading Venus Day LA on October 31st. Yes, on Samhain, a holy, holy day. This is for powerful spiritual women to come gather, heal our womb, expand our feminine power, be in ceremony. We're going to be doing cosmic cellular breath work. It's going to be luxury. Think rose petals. Think Mary Magdalene. Think money. You can come for the day. You can come and do the queen dinner. You can be a VIP and get a one-on-one experience with me that weekend. Um, there has never been a more important time for us to gather in person and expand our power cellularly in person. So the link to get your ticket is in the show notes. I could not be more excited about this experience. So that's what's going on in this world, how you can go deep in this work. That is a bit about a conversation that I'm about to share with you. I love you so much. And without further ado, link is in the show notes to literally everything you will ever need to hop in. And I'll hand it over to this amazing conversation between me and Ayesha for you. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of A Better World with Adrienne. I am so grateful and excited for today's episode to welcome Ayesha Durrani to the podcast. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
I'm so honored to have you here. Um, I did a formal intro for everyone before we pressed record, you and I. However, my biggest question to open, like people can Google you, people can go on their website. Like, I really want to get into the meat and the potatoes of like, who are you today in, I almost said October. The timelines are like, sometimes I grab the wrong timeline. Spoiler alert. Um, who are you in September in eclipse season right after the Pisces eclipse? Like, who are you and what matters most to you in this moment?
Ooh, thank you for asking. I love that question. In my business journey, some of the identities or labels that I've held are like astrologer and business coach, but really who I am today is a woman, an artist, a dancer, a socialist, an anarchist. Like I've really taken a bit of a turn in my content lately, and I have never felt so connected and so energized by my work. So it's feeling very liberated. I'm feeling very, very, very liberated. In ways I've really never felt in my business and my platform. So I would say that that's really what it's about. I'm feeling more like youthful than ever as I just let the life force of really more and more and more of what I wanted to say, speaking to like New Earth and speaking to the revolution, and that has that evolution of my sense of self as well, of kind of reprioritizing things a little bit, has been just, yeah, so liberating. So I'm feeling a lot of liberation and a lot of feeling truly like I'm creating.
Oh, I love that. And honestly, like since the last time you and I were on like a one-on-one call together, your skin is glowing
Thank
differently.
you.
Like for real.
It's my first house profection year, so I've definitely been taking all my self-care like to another level. So thank you for noticing.
And we got that Leo rising. I mean, it's just like there's the frequency of truth is the most unfuckwithable frequency that exists. So of course you're more radiant. Of course you're more youthful. Of course you're more energized. It's like the more we peel back those layers of lies that, we didn't even realize, it's really powerful. And to me, that's the definition ecosystem of liberation. It's not like, oh, a one-stop shop, it's a circle. It's like, how do we keep in that cycle? It's just like the cycle of the moon or the cycle of life or the cycle of on Mother Earth. Liberation is a cycle. Like, what's your definition of liberation?
It's a big question. I think it's the the freedom and the space and the resources to explore our potential as individuals and as a collective, ultimately, literally freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big reason why I feel why I think I was drawn to you from the very beginning. Like we've been in multiple different we've been both learning from certain teachers at the same time. We've been in this is more like colleague co-creation. I've been in your masterminds. I've studied astrology with you. And I think what I've been consistently drawn to is this liberation and also this Aquarian shattering that you just, as a projector in human design, it's like you don't really need to say anything to dismantle something. And I created this podcast back in 2022 with the intention that it's an unrestricted vocal channel, because I like that we don't need to be on screens. Everybody's addicted to screens. I like how it can be just listening, or you can do YouTube if you want. Also, unrestricted. Like, I own this. Like, people aren't gonna ban me from my podcast unless there's an AI out here listening to me, like trying to ban podcasts in the near future. Could happen. I really want you to let it rip in terms of what you see for the age of Aquarius. What do people get wrong about that? Because I talk about New Earth a lot on this podcast. A better world, like the every transmission we do here is okay, for us to realize we want a better world, that means innately we see things to be improved. And people talk a lot about the age of Aquarius, and New Earth is like, okay, we're really creating heaven on earth. However, to sometimes the road to glory leads you straight through hell. And not sometimes, I would say every time, because you got to get to the root of things. So, what do people get wrong about the age of Aquarius? And how are you spearheading the redirection of that for the correct
Mhm.
use of energy?
So, what people get wrong about the age of Aquarius is they mix it up with the age of Pisces. So, the age of Pisces is the age that we're moving out of, and we need to understand, we need to graduate from certain lessons in order to become who we need to be to bring about the Aquarian age. So, what that means is people believe that the age of Aquarius, or even like a new Earth or like a 5D Earth, they believe that that can come from purely transcendence and spiritual energy alone. That's a very delusional age of Pisces shadow thinking that the phrase, the only way to change the world is to change myself, that is not something I fully disagree with, because I've had to change myself to and grow and do inner work to become this version of me who is able to do more contribution. But if we're waiting until we reach some sort of, well, actually, the thing is that most people aren't waiting. They are just using it as an excuse to not engage in collective change, just period. They're like, oh, well, I'm just changing myself. I'm working out. I'm making money. I'm in my little bubble of privilege. And as I heal myself, I am healing the entire world. It is true to a very small degree. Of course, as we face things and face initiations, there's because we're all connected, it is touching on something, but that's not the level of participation that the age of Aquarius is really talking about. Aquarius is a sign of responsibility. That's almost never spoken about when people talk about the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is literally co-ruled by Saturn. So when
Mm-hmm.
people think it's like this utopia thing and we don't even have to worry about what's happening now because this is the future, that's Age of Pisces delusion, that it's going to just happen for us, that if I just do love and light, it will somehow happen, and all this kind of stuff. So it's really as a age that is co-ruled by Saturn, which is the planet literally of tasks. It's the taskmaster. It's the planet of responsibility. It's the planet of maturity. It's the planet of cold, hard reality checks. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing that people get wrong about it, is not realizing, or the way that people use the word revolution is very, in a way, offensive to what true revolution and what that will really ask of us. I don't think people are truly aware of how much that's going to ask of us. And it's not something that's going to happen for us. It's something that we're going to create together. And that means like all hands on deck. And a lot of people are not They don't want to see that part because it means making themselves uncomfortable. Few things are as uncomfortable as revolution. So if you're not willing to be uncomfortable for the revolution, you are just reinforcing the old paradigm to maintain your
Right.
privileges.
Yeah, and I love the divine timing of our conversation. Like it could not be more divine. So we're recording this literally in the Pisces eclipse hangover. And Saturn just re-entered Pisces. And when Saturn first entered Pisces, I was like, oh, all the broke healers are about to get their ass kicked. All the floaty mystics are about to get their asses kicked because it's like the stern teacher, Father Time. It's like, time's up, yo. Hey, kid, you have a dream? Like, show me the blueprint. Are you doing the work? Like, have you got your reps in yet? And as someone who has been experiencing Pluto literally just dragging over my natal Saturn for the past 2 years, I will say that like I've just like my Saturn return was like nothing. Like it really is the level of I decided at the beginning I was like this is just like a mentorship with like the big ballers and I'm gonna let myself be sharpened and shown and like just sacrificed on the altar again and again for what is what is required to build like because Saturn is the architecture it's the throne like for the medicine to flow through. That's how I experience it. And just to echo what you're saying, like, because my Saturn's in Aquarius, for those listening, like it's correct, you know, it is deeply revolutionary and it is challenging, like the amount of I mean, challenge seems like a such a small word for what it actually is. It's just like it's total like shattering and burning of the ego and only the soul is left. And then you put pieces together to hold the soul that you didn't even have invented like 5 years ago. It's really yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head with precision, and that people don't realize what it actually requires of us, like both personally and collectively, because it's one thing for me to get my ass kicked on my own. And then it's like we're also getting our asses kicked collectively, first of all, because Creator loves us enough to show us the extreme truth. It's like, how much extreme truth must we see until we collectively shift? um, is really important to talk about and call people forward. Like, you're an Aquarius. You're here to shine your light and lead the age of Aquarius. And something that is happening is energetic spiritual warfare. You know, there's blood ritual on the Holy Land. It's not new. It's very accelerated. So, how do you speak about that in such a way that you call people forward into their responsibility? Like, to me, this feels a lot of like Gemini energy too, where it's like holding multiple truths at once, which is really challenging. So, how do you speak about, you know, Gaza and the very obvious like evil blood rituals happening while also holding an immense amount of light? Like, because and I think that's challenging for me as a leader.
I think part of it is, I mean, one thing about Aquarius is that Aquarius is a sign of objectivity. So actually in the Aquarian age, something that's required is in some cases there are multiple truths, and it's important to understand why people get to their convictions and get to their truths and the pathways that they take. But also in many cases in questions of morality, they're actually some of those questions are black and white, and Aquarius is a bit more of a black and white sign. It's literally like there are times where there is objective truth, there are times where there is objective morality. And for me, I don't spend too much time thinking about how to invite people into it necessarily. It's more about I am one, take responsibility for being educated, right? So learning, if people use the excuse of not being educated enough, we're coming on to 2 years and like exactly 1 month from when we're recording this, we're coming on to 2 years of this version, this phase of actually a decades long genocide that's occurring. And a lot of people need to really just ask themselves, like, where is their red line? What is their red line? And if we as a society cannot stop this from happening, that is a mirror of an even greater problem and an even greater like dark timeline and fallen timeline that could be a potential for us. And recognizing that it's not about Judaism, it's not about Islam, it's actually that is the division. People sometimes say that speaking against genocide is causing division because there's an implication that there's something anti-Semitic about it. But actually, I don't associate the actions of the Israeli military with the faith of Judaism whatsoever. And if it was Canada, where I'm from, it would be the exact same thing. The phrase free Palestine is not anti-Semitic. I would be saying it if it was Canada doing that to Palestine. So then would that be okay because Canada's not a Jewish ethno state? Like it's this really interesting thing where that trauma has been weaponized so that we feel uncomfortable speaking about certain things. And to me, that's not about holding multiple truths. It's about the one truth that all of these things are expressions of imperialism, colonial imperialism, and colonization and imperialism are manifestations of evil on this planet.
Mhm.
They're all about extraction, they're all about dehumanization, and there's no greater sin. So to me, that's where the devil hid himself,
Mhm.
and expressed in a systematic way on our planet. And that system is way more organized and way more, in a way, advanced than the
Yeah.
system of the collective at the moment, because we've been numbed out with addiction, with distraction, with manufactured poverty that keeps us from really being on our path. So to me, it actually is about objective truths. And wherever people don't feel like they understand, go teach yourself, because there's no shortage of information on that. It's really just a choice to remain ignorant at this point. So I don't personally spend a lot of time thinking, how can I call people in? I just
Mhm.
spend time thinking, how can I use my platform in a way that I'm proud of and in a way that aligns with my values?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really powerful seat to sit in. And what you're really speaking into is the human ohana. The
Okay, what's Ohana?
human.
What what is Ohana?
It means family in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, I think that's where, people talk about transcending. I think that's where we can transcend. Like if we just focus on it's the human family, it kind of deletes the the distraction of the other conversations. It's like, oh, it's the human family. Okay, obviously there's you know there are evil forces on our planet. There are dark forces like every time we choose instant gratification, that energy goes to dark force rather than when we choose the long-term blessing, which is okay, the long-term blessing is I'm deeply uncomfortable looking at the truth, speaking about the truth, being seen in my values, like maybe shattering some connections or things in my life that weren't real or from the bedrock of my values to begin with, like then we create the long-term blessing, which is ultimately new earth. Like if each of us are something that I think about a lot is it's not enough to just be focused our on new earth. We've got to reject the current system. It keeps giving me the hand thing, but like rejecting what's not correct is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And what would you I'm really curious about this. So I recently sat with ayahuasca for the first time. The grandmother found me. I was like, if I'm supposed to sit with you, then I will. And it was I said no to probably 40 ceremonies because it just was like talk about energetic hygiene. I was like, I literally cannot be like go to coffee with these people, let alone sit in ceremony. Um, and I got a full body, like, okay, this is like I'm being like shuffled into this, you know? And it was absolutely life changing because it was in the correct space. I remember you saying specifically you had an ayahuasca experience where you were shown a deeper octave of your destiny. Is this what it was? Like, how has that manifested for you?
I would say there was two. I've sat with ayahuasca 9 times, and I would say there was two different ones where really was shown some things about specifically my purpose path, because some ceremonies out of those 9 were very much like very personal healing, inner child healing, like family healing, and then after those it tended to be in this kind of like sequence where then after some of those I would have this more like illuminating, like future forward sort of experience. I have the longer version of this on my podcast. It's like a 90-minute story, like just on this one ceremony, so I won't like get into like every single detail, but basically, after some very deep personal healing, it was actually the day after my birthday, and my birthday ceremony this was in 2023. The birthday ceremony was like the deepest inner child healing that I've ever experienced in the 9, in my life, but also in those 9 ceremonies. Every ceremony is completely different. Like there's nothing, and yet nothing you could possibly predict about it, no matter how many times you sit with her. And so in the ceremony after that, I felt like there was nothing left for me. Like as in like I felt that because I was at Rhythmia, a place that is known, and you can drop my name if you ever book yourself there. I have gone there twice, and I was really skeptical about that place, but I've had such incredible experiences there. And you're basically sitting 4 times in a row, so in 4 consecutive days, and I've been twice. So it's not like I had the inner child healing and then like a year later I had this other ceremony. It was literally the next day. And I felt after the ceremony on my birthday, so that was the second ceremony, that I literally said in the sharing circle, I was like, I don't think there's anything left for me. I think I just got what more could there possibly be than this? Because it was like the letting go of my entire pain body of my entire life up till I think I turned 34, or yeah, I think I turned 34 at that one. And I just felt like 34 years of a pain body like being let go and being purged, and it was like so deep. I was like, what more could there possibly be? And the shaman like basically laughed at my face and was like, oh, like don't worry, there's gonna be more. And I then the next day, it was basically the spirit of Mother Ayahuasca, which is a spirit that frequency I'm very familiar with from at that point. I think that was my 4th ceremony I'd ever done. And it's very like grandmother energy. It's very like, I don't know, my name's Ayesha Ayahuasca. Like I feel like I'm like her daughter. Like I just feel like this very like familiar energy with her. And then it was in this ceremony that she gave me to masculine God. And I had never really I was someone who didn't consider God as a masculine energy for a lot of my life. And I was someone who said spirit instead of God, and stuff like that. And then I had this experience, and it was basically like the blinding white light of masculine God, father, king kind of archetype. And I wasn't expecting that at all. And I didn't have too much resistance on that either. I wasn't like angry at it, like at all. Uh, yeah, like I just didn't really grow up with religion, first of all. My family is from Pakistan, which is an Islamic country, but my parents themselves are the real like black sheep of both their families. And we didn't grow up with even like reading the Quran. I did read the Quran for a period of time when my aunt was going through a big life change and a divorce. And so me and her daughters, we did some Quran study, and I really enjoyed that. I would always volunteer to read, and I didn't have any anger towards it, as some people do, where they really don't like that. I was just like spirit, I was just like, organized religion, Abrahamic religion, like not my thing. I think it's cool. I would read any of the books. I would read any of the holy texts any day. I would love to read actually the Ethiopian Bible, which I heard is the most ancient Bible because Ethiopians were some of the earliest Christians. So that's something kind of on my radar, just out of fascination. But anyway, at that point, I felt quite neutral about it. But that it was just such an undeniable experience where I was just getting blasted through every cell and everything I could look at. I was just seeing literally like whether my eyes were open or closed, I was seeing the kingdom of heaven, and it was all these like golden and white light kind of colors, and it was like long. It was, and I was going through like a ton of physical pain, so it was really crazy because the purge that was happening was physical pain. Like I just can't even describe it because it's very unusual and I've only experienced it once, but it's like my entire body was on fire for like about like 6 hours. Like it was like nonstop. Like I broke down crying multiple times. I went to the spirit team, the medicine support team, like the people who were supporting the shaman, multiple times, and just broke down, just crying. I was like, I don't know how I can take this anymore. It was just pain. It was just pain. But at the exact same time as the pain, I was seeing the kingdom of heaven all the time. So it was like this extremely holy experience, but I was literally getting like burned alive at the same time. And I just had to withstand it. I just had to keep it. There was nothing I could do but surrender to it. And it was so long. It was the longest night you can imagine. But throughout that, there were moments where I was basically just seeing, I was even seeing sometimes in my mind's eye, like eyes open, eyes closed, didn't matter. Like I was seeing like my Insta bio saying, like talking about consciousness evolving and talking about the Aquarian age, which was not something that I made. My work on the Aquarian age was for some reason something that was only shared in in-person talks. So when I was speaking, I was honored to be a headline speaker at Lightning in a Bottle and other private retreats in Egypt, like with private luxury retreats in Egypt, different festivals around the world. And I always brought the Age of Aquarius talks to those, but I never made that something I was leading with online for some reason. And so this was me just really seeing that that was what I was meant to lead with online. And it was a very crown chakra experience at the same time as my body was just for some reason burning alive for like 7, 8 hours, and my crown chakra was like as big as the entire room. Like I could feel my crown chakra was just like as big as the entire what was the word that they call the place? The word is eluding me right now. Something like a shala. It's not that, but it's
Yeah.
basically like a beautiful big space where you're doing the maloka. That's what it's called. The big space
Mm.
you're doing the medicine. And it was like my crown chakra was like that big, and I could feel other crown chakras around the world, kind of like boop 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 boop, like reaching that same level, like at the same time as me. And it was just basically showing me through that sensation that I wasn't alone and that more people were ready for this conversation. So in that sense it was that, but it wasn't it was a lot of knowing. um and yeah, so that was pretty much it. It wasn't necessarily like this is what your next step is or this is what you're doing now. It was sort of like an understanding of a direction that was available.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's so much that I want to say, but it's interesting because like Aquarius is very technology. So it's like, yeah, transmitting here. And like, this is a big, like, high five green light because one of the things I wanted to ask you about specifically, like bringing you onto this online platform is Age of Aquarius. And with with your body burning, I'm like, is it because she was burned so many times before? Like, like,
That wasn't the feeling that I got, to be honest. I don't have any sort of past life kind of like memories about that. I will say I'm not someone who's super connected with like 50 different past lives. It's like I've been shown basically one main recent one that's kind of really relevant for my karmic healing, and then like one really far away one. And so I personally, when I hear about witch burnings and things like that, as a Pisces moon, I feel incredible compassion. And I've been to some like exhibits that give the history, and I've like learned about that. A lot of my clients have experienced that. I never really resonated as someone who experienced that. So to me, it felt more like just the burning light of God, just like penetrating into every cell of my body and just burning away, burning whatever needed to be burned. Like it felt like a very needed thing,
like purification
like a
vibes.
purification of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how has that shifted because my experience with the grandmother, first I had 3 cups and I didn't feel anything.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, I go up to them. I'm like, am I just supposed to keep drinking this? And it was the first time I ever sat, but it like tasted familiar. So obviously I know I had done it in other lifetimes. Um, but it was the 4th cup that really that was and it was like everybody was closing their ceremony and mine was just beginning. And mine was more with the feminine. And I literally sobbed for like 3 hours and I felt like 100 grandmothers on my back. And then Mary Magdalene. And it was interesting because all the men in the circle came and like held me. So they were like holding it down that way. It For me, that was very, very important to just, it was almost like I got initiated into like my divine feminine true embodiment through by way of grief. Um, how did that experience change your relationship with, like, has it changed your daily relationship with spirit and God
Yeah,
as a masculine?
I would say so. Yeah, yeah. Because I just pray throughout the day, and I will say God, I will write to God.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I will still say spirit because I don't actually consider them to be the same thing. I do consider spirit to be a non-gendered, like but very supreme kind of energy of creation, but it definitely changed my daily relationship with God. And sometime after that, I'm not sure when, but I started working with a mentor who I really love so much, Christina of Solar Feminine Arts, and that's she does a lot of work with God as a masculine energy. So that was I'm not sure how long after that I got into that world. I feel like it was like quite at least like 6 months later, but I found myself in a space with a lot of women who were walking the path of Christ. And it was just like, it was just really cool to have a dedicated space where I was learning a new sort of way of interacting and like relating with God as sort of like father as well. And like heavenly father, and that was really interesting. I'm not necessarily practicing in the same way as a lot of the women who are really like, I am walking the Christic path or the Sophianic path. But yeah, I learned a lot and I gained a lot of beautiful shifts that kind of like go all the way down to the nervous system when you can tap into that amount of safety and love that that has to offer.
It's
It's a lot.
it's insane. It's insane. So I grew up in the church, and so I rejected that for a long time because, there was obviously like heinous, crazy things happening. Um, and I had a, so I just got back from, basically I was traveling for 4 months and I didn't fully realize I was doing this, but I was going and just like gathering all of these things to reclaim and alchemize from different lands, different ley lines. And I do these new earth activation retreats. And I basically went on like an activation scavenger hunt.
Mhm.
Um, and a big part of it was all I met were the most amazing men. For me, receiving from Father God is easier than receiving Father God through a human man, and realizing like that create I use creator a lot since I started studying Kabbalah. That's where I really started experiencing God in the masculine, that where it actually feels safe to relax into that provision. And part of this activation was like, it was like men just like leaping out of nowhere to like open doors for me and like, oh, it's my pleasure to serve you. Like literally the whole time. Like one of my clients took me somewhere and I had a personal butler. And I was just like, this is this is Father God, like literally coming out of the woodwork. And you're exactly right. Like that safety, that like nervous system, like And when I got back in the US, to be honest, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna set up shop here because like immediately something shifted in my nervous system when I was kind of in a place physically that doesn't worship the goddess in the same way.
Hmm.
So when we bring this to leadership, there's so many different directions I could take here. How do you tap into Father God on a daily basis so you feel safe leading?
So my prayer is very, I would say casual. It's very like informal in a way. Like I just throughout the day, starting my day with just like calling my energy back to me, putting my roots into the earth. Like it's not just God, it's very much like Mother Earth, Father Sky, my ancestors and angels, my guides, my higher self. Like we're bringing the whole squad and just really just feeling them surround me. And like above it all is God, like the light of
Mhm.
God. And it's very, I'm a Pisces moon, so I like to be very flowy with things. I don't like when things are too sort of regimented. So it's just a very organic process. And then there might be other times that I'm doing like a deeper writing or I'm doing a deeper prayer, or I'm sitting and really setting intentions somewhere. But it's very, very kind of free flowing. But it is something that there's some form of it, usually multiple times a day. But the kind of bare minimum of like energy hygiene and like receiving that protective support is like roots in the earth, calling my energy back to me, letting go of energy that's not mine, calling in all the support, whatever support that I connect with on like the multidimensional level, and just like inviting them to surround me and be inviting them to the party.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's I love that you said casual because a lot of people I think trip themselves and they're like, "Oh, but am I praying right? Oh, am I doing this right?" Like it's like one of my teachers once said, and I don't, it just like burned into my memory in a good way. She's like, "The best magic is the magic you make up." And
Mm-hmm.
it's like what feels right to you, like and I think this is where religion did us dirty in the sense it's like, oh, like you have to follow all of these things like exactly like this or you're broken or you're wrong or you're not supported and it's like if you show up with like a humble spirit and like I literally said this morning, I was like, creator, I don't know what the fuck just came in my brain, but can you please take that out? And it's like I creator doesn't care if I say fuck,
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very personal. And I like that you said casual because, and we're in Virgo season. Virgo's the magic and the mundane. Like, if you're just consistent in what's correct for you, that's the bedrock of safety and protection and connection for all of us to do everything we're supposed to do to follow our personal path and the path for the collective.
Yeah. And if we really know in our hearts that we are loved by all the kind of holy forces, we don't need to be doing a performance. We don't need to be like meeting some sort of bar that's so high that we have to like hurt ourselves to reach. And I think that's one of the distortions that definitely came in religion, like specifically Christianity, but I'm not too sure. Maybe it exists other places, but a lot of the like flogging and self-flagellation, like all this stuff, like wearing the hair shirt and like suffering and like choosing that path. I'm sure some people have definitely reached some states of like ecstasy and like transcendence through that. But yeah, like it's the whole punitive God thing. It just is a reflection of human beings' relational distortions, I think. If you really knew that God loves you, you can just talk to God all the time. It's chill. And that's how someone, they say like act as if, right? Or like the
Yeah.
version, the version of you that truly feels loved by God, like they're chilling. It's an ongoing conversation instead of something that needs to be like check this box, check this box, check this box, make sure everything's all right, pressure, stress, like all that kind of stuff. That's not really the actions of someone who truly believes that God loves them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's really power. Like I think whatever we're able to be consistent with is always gonna be powerful. And if it's enjoyable, we're gonna be more consistent with it too. And yeah, we all know what to do a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I say this so much, but it's like the more we can collapse time between knowing it and actually doing it. Like
Mhm.
that's how people want a quantum leap. It's like, okay, everything you already know, just do it. Then it'll be a quantum leap. And again, that liberation is coming through. Something that I really wanted to specifically ask you about is about neurodivergence and thought leadership for a new world, which is actually like the ancient world. um, because my first company that I built was, I think 80 to 90% of my clientele were neurodivergent on the spectrum. My dad actually is quad right in human design, so has a very nonlinear brain setup, I would say. And I don't know exactly how you would describe the way your brain is set up, but I know that you are neurodivergent and you have a unique way of functioning in your mind. So how do you experience that in tandem with thought leadership?
So I received my diagnosis almost 2 years ago, or coming up on 2 years. So it's kind of like a um, new realization, I guess. Like, of course, everyone who's neurodivergent knows like they think differently, or maybe certain things are harder for them. Why are they harder? Why is this harder for me than other people? Or why is this easier for me than it is for other people? But I also think that like what is neurotypical? I think that's an
Yeah,
interesting question to
yeah,
ask as well,
yeah.
because like, is neurotypical just what, like the school system in general, maybe neurotypical people do better within that, but I don't even think the school system is really a reflection of like humans' true intelligence. So I do like, I question neurotypicality. And I think neurodivergence is, I think I won't say I think we're all neurodivergent, but I would say what is typical, because I definitely
Right,
think more and more and more people are recognizing that they're, I mean, how could our brains not all work differently, really? Like we're all really
right.
different from each other, but I am ADHD with autism. So the autism part was really interesting. I always kind of felt that I had autism ever since I first heard about it when I was like 8 years old. I remember reading an article back then, they used to call it Asperger's syndrome. That's not a phrase that's used anymore because that person that it was named after actually did I believe he worked for the Nazis and was a doctor that did bad things to children and that autistic children. So it's like, how dare
Ugh,
we cannot use that word anymore, but basically it's the word for high functioning and high IQ autistic people. So I read an article about that randomly online when I was like 8 or 9 or 10. And I just remember just within seconds being like, I have this. But I just
yeah,
like never thought about it again and put it aside. And then, yeah, getting my autistic, I actually was going for ADHD assessment, but then that she actually suggested that we do the autism assessment as well. So that was interesting. And then, yeah, getting that diagnosis and just realizing like, okay, the world's not really built for me. But then caveat is the world's not really built for anyone. The world's not built for human potential in general. The
mm,
world is built for extraction and vampirism
mm.
in general. So you don't have to be autistic to feel that way, you know? But realizing the world's not built for me. And I need to create, the doctor who did my assessment, she actually was a client of mine as well. Her name is Dr. Rabia Subahani. And she
Oh, we were in the
Yes,
mastermind
yes, exactly,
together.
exactly. It's Rabia. So, I'm a projector, as Adrienne is also a projector. So I'm sure the audience knows like we're supposed to be invited. So I actually had mentioned to Rabia that, oh, I'm considering getting assessed. And she reached out and offered the assessment to me as a gift, which was like so beautiful. Like it felt like such a soul contract sort of like exchange that we had. I was like, wow, thank you. Like truly honored. It really felt like a soul contract there. And yeah, just knowing and having that validation, because I don't do treatment. I don't do any medication for ADHD. So people have asked me, what's changed since then? And it's mainly just just self-validation. It's literally just
Mhm.
like, I'm different. Some shit is harder for me. I need maybe more time to recharge. I can get burned out in different ways. Autism burnout is a very specific thing. It's a very different thing than what we sometimes associate with burnout. Like, I have these sensory issues. I like what I like. I need what I need. Like, it just helped me really own my needs a lot more. And that's created a lot more ease in my life, and something that Rabia helps her clients with, because she works with neurodivergent adults. Something that she helps her clients with is making their special interest, because autistic people always have like their special interest. Like, you find, if you go to, it makes me think of like the independent movie store that I used to go to all the time when like renting movies was more common. And there was like this independent movie store on Commercial Drive in Vancouver, and it was like the movie nerds, you know what I mean? Where they're like maybe super awkward in other situations, but you start talking about a movie and they're like, they know
Uh,
everything about
yeah.
it. They're so passionate about it. So it's like, I believe some of these peeps are like on the spectrum. There's like my pet store nearby, and like, hopefully they're not, I don't know if they're listening to this, because like, is this respectful for me to say? I don't know. But I just get the feeling from just how much they love pets, and just like there's just a vibe of like their special interestness being pets, where I'm just like, maybe they're on the spectrum like me. Um, and so you start kind of like feeling that frequency. And I think ultimately, so back to Rabia's suggestion, because maybe this will help someone, is she talks about, if we can make our living connected to our special interest, that is one of the
Mhm.
best things that neurodivergent adults can do, especially autistic adults, where it's like the world doesn't, you might really struggle in certain environments, right? But actually, you could really excel in other environments. And so the thing for me is, I dropped out of school when I was 15. I've never worked at a computer before starting my business. I never worked a 9 to 5 in my life. So luckily, I wasn't trying to really fit a square into a circle. I like gave
Yeah.
up on that like over 20 years ago. So I feel like ultimately, how that's impacted my thought leadership is actually that I didn't need as much indoctrination as some people, because I already took myself out of the status quo like over 20
Mhm.
years ago, when I left home and left school when I was 15. So I feel actually like it's more about that. But that was the right choice for me in my neurodivergence, was to just like remove myself, because school was like, felt very like impossible for me. Even though I was really smart, I got, in math, the year before I dropped out, I got a 98 in everything in math. And this is like, some autistic people, we're really good at math, but like then other stuff's like really hard. And I just like had like problems with like executive function, and but that also had to do with PTSD. So it's some of these things where like some of the autism traits are also actually symptoms of PTSD, and it's like it's all kind of new, this whole conversation, which is really great. I'm really glad that it's a new conversation. I have a podcast episode on neurodivergence and entrepreneurship, because so many neurodivergent people like find us. Of course, we're walking a different path. We're looking at doing businesses online. We're tapped into certain gifts, so it makes sense that we'd kind of attract that type of person. And I also think it's just worth for all of us to question on what does it mean to be neurotypical. I
Yeah.
think that's a good question to ask ourselves, because
Yeah.
neurotypical means, oh, I can fit in this education and work system. Well, does that education and work system actually serve human potential? Because yeah, like I think that's something for us to question.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's interesting because when I have kids, they're not going to school, like one of my dreams is to start like something called Earth School, where it's like I'm going to have all these projectors that I'm going to pay really, really well to just like hold space and be like, oh, today we're like sitting with the land and just like I can't wait. It's really what I really hear you saying is just like really discovering and owning your magic and your genius. And something that I just remember, especially teaching all these kids at the piano, like they would just drop these like mic drops, and I'm like, hey, can you run for president? Because that would solve everything. And it's just beautiful. When we talk about New Earth, it's like, okay, I think about it like a quilt. And like the tapestry is like everybody just in their unique magic. And then, okay, you have the thread over there, and I have this color fabric, and like you have the backing, and like we're weaving it all together, and the different textures and the different colors, and it's like every single brain like orientation or even identity or just like it's like that Aquarius magic of really owning like the weird, wacky, innovative, and like, I guess just like extreme ownership of our genius.
Mhm.
And I've seen that in you from the beginning. Is just this like this is me, take it or leave it, and like really a different lens on things. And it's important because okay, if we think about it from like a collective manifestation level, right? We're all focusing on the same goal, new earth. Everybody's going to shine a different light on it. And so when we own like our flashlight and we're like, this is the way that I can shine. Oh, you see it from that lens. Like we all can learn from each other.
Mhm.
So I'm excited that you shared a bit about that because I know there's people of all different like every single person I think can relate to what you're saying, no matter if they consider themselves neurodivergent or neurotypical. Like what, like you said, what does that even mean? It's like when someone says normal. I'm like, what does that mean? Do you mean compliant? Do you mean modern day slavery? Like, what does that even mean? And just living that way is rejecting the system, which
Mhm.
is powerful.
Mhm.
Thank you for thank you for showing us and really just sharing your thoughts. Like I've like consistently, consistently. I've seen people jump on the bandwagon and fall off. I've seen people start businesses and fall off. And it's like I have a whole podcast episode called it's like we're endurance athletes. We're in it for the long game. And that's a really big reason why I don't have a lot of guests on this podcast. I really wanted to bring you on because you have been that consistent force that like hey, things ebb and flow, but my oath, your oath, it stays the same and it might be in different forms and different frequencies and we all evolve and change, but I just really want to honor you and see you in that and recognize that in you because for all of us, like you've said many times in this conversation, we're not going to do it alone. And so having consistent leadership within ourselves and then from other people who align with our values, like true new earth values from the ancient codes, not like, oh, I'm like reading these horoscopes and like it's just like there's so much pop astrology, there's so much like instant gratification spirituality out there that it just really matters. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's so nice to receive. And yeah, I think when people have trouble with consistency, because I'm a business coach, so that's something people will sometimes come and ask me. And I think
Mhm.
that because over the years, the online business space has changed a lot. There was like this real boom in 2020 with everyone being online and being on their computers. That's when I started my business. That's when a lot of people started their business. Actually chose the date of my business starting in 2019, but it ended up coinciding right with the beginning of the lockdown. And
Hashtag astrology.
yeah, exactly, right, exactly. That was the first like thumbs up. And when people come out and they put their self out there and then they back off because they didn't receive a certain results, they need to really be super brutally honest with themselves on what was their motivation for doing that. Because sometimes people get seduced by, oh, I
Mhm.
saw this person, they started a business, then they made 10K, and then they start do stuff, and then they start getting in this energy of, oh, I'm doing everything but it's not working, and then they quit. And it's actually just, we have to look at like what was actually the root of that motivation to begin with. Because if you have a if your goal is catch up with Susie so and so over here, like doing whatever and making that much money, and then you don't get that, then all of a sudden it's like your balloon got popped, and that's where a lot of people like just give up really quickly, or they come up against their own wounds, like their wounds around being seen, their wounds around being judged, wounds around being successful, wounds around being different than the status quo, and then they no longer want to go in that direction because there's discomfort there. But if you're willing to kind of face whatever might come up along the way, there's been so much change in the last 5 years. There's been people who were once really successful who quit their businesses and stuff like that. And I think that the really important thing is to just have a bigger why than that. Have a bigger why than any kind of metric or any kind of like number of whether it's revenue or whether it's sales or whether it's followers or whether it's likes or engagement, all this stuff. Because it just makes the journey way better. It just literally makes everything
Yeah.
journey way better. You can be more consistent. There's less ups and downs. And for a lot of neurodivergent people and also projectors, I've heard a lot of people give the excuse of, well, I can't how can I have an online business if I'm a projector and I don't have a lot of energy? Or how can I have an online business? I
It's
wake
the
up
only, well, not the only way, but like it's a great way.
pretty much. It's like you get to make your own hours and you get to like do as much or as little as you want. So I don't really see how this is not compatible. It's just that they're not willing to maybe face certain things or learn the strategies that are going to support them so that it's more sustainable for them. And that's, yeah, that's something I'm really passionate about. But I have, I have some support on my birth chart for that. I'm very earth. I am a left quad, so I am a very just logical and strategic person, even though I'm
Mm.
neurodivergent. So, but we all have our special mixes, and that's why you come to a business coach who has that type of codes, and you just kind of, it's like, I give the example of, it's like physical beauty. You need to emphasize what your natural what's naturally good. If you have nice eyes, emphasize your eyes. If you got curly hair like you and me, like go with the curly hair. It's like, don't
Hmm.
worry so much about what is not the ideal or whatever. Like whatever you got that is good, just like emphasize that. And like there's so many ways that we have learned about what consistency means, that it means to be like obedient, or it means to like sit in this desk and da 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 da. But like to do your soul work in this world and to reach people worldwide with that is one of the greatest honors that we could ever
Hmm.
have. And when we
Yeah.
forget that, we plug ourselves into this like rat race matrix, and that's totally optional. We don't need to be in that energy. And when you are doing it for the right reasons and you're clear on that, that's going to get you through the seasons. That's going to get you through the winters. That's going to get you through the low seasons and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's really so I'm known for holy habits, like, and it's really this devotion energy. And I mean, when we think about it in the perspective, the general context of like life on our planet, it's like it's such a privilege to be able to show up
Mm-hmm.
for this. Like, so on days when it feels like you don't want to do it for you, do it for someone else. And when you're in right relationship with creator, God, source, there's such an intimacy there. Honestly, that's one of the most intimate, my relationship with receiving from creator through money is one of the most intimate parts of my spiritual path, because I know that if I'm in alignment with Father God and I stay keyed in and I just be the person, it's like very old school, but like if you just decide you're the stubborn person that will never quit, like you will rise and you will do it. Like creator provides. Creator always provides. So, I mean, there's a whole other, we could do a whole podcast on that. Finally, I would just love to ask you, what's your definition of a better world?
It's a world where we're living in harmony with one another and the earth, from the materials that our houses are made from, to our water and agriculture and food systems, to our education systems, to our whatever banking, finance, monetary currency systems are aligned with that. It's just literally living in harmony. Like we have an insane amount of resources, yet we have not solved world hunger. Like that's absolute bullshit. And I think we need to get to a place where that's completely unacceptable to us because we have every resource to solve world hunger. We could have solved world hunger multiple times over in just the taxpayer money that was sent from the United States to Israel
Hmm.
in the last however many years. And it's an option that the ruling class doesn't want us to have because the more impoverished that people are in this manufactured poverty, the more desperate that they are. And then they can be recruited into things like ICE with the signing bonus and stuff like that. Like it's all very much part of that. So we basically just need to be given a chance to really run this planet in a different way.
Yeah.
It's just about being in harmony with one another and being in harmony with the earth and bringing sacredness and reverence into society as it once was.
As it once was. Yes. Amazing. I'm here for this. Well, thank you so much, Aisha. We really went all over the place. This is such a rich resource for people to tap into, and everyone listening, let us know what stuck out to you, like what landed for you, like did it spark an aha? Did it spark like a shift you want to make? Like reach out to us, let us know. How can people connect with you, Aisha, if they want to deepen in your world, your ecosystem, your work?
So the best place is to follow me on Insta at oath.oracle. That's the place I'm most active. I have a membership where I give all the downloads on the current transits, how it aligns with business and leadership. And I also have a podcast. I haven't updated it in a minute. We're actually going to go through a little rebrand and relaunch that. It's going to happen at some point here. But there is a lot of longer stories. If you like to hear me talk, there's some long hours and hours and hours for you to dive into over there. That's like business transformation, my Aya ceremonies and everything like that. So that'll be plenty to to start with.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here and co-creating this with me. I really appreciate your time and energy and just love.
Thanks so
Um,
much for having me and inviting me.
you're welcome. And to everybody listening, go out there, be the change, be the light, be the real you, make a stranger smile because you have no idea what people are going through. You have no idea how much that can charge the field and make a ripple of magic like mind blowing. Um, and be the reason someone believes again.
And be the glitch you want to see in the Matrix. I
Yeah.
don't know who made that up, but hats off to that person.
And I'll see you next time on A Better World with Adrienne.